Before we dive in, take a second to like the video and hit subscribe, but only if you truly connect with the stories we tell here. And hey, drop a comment letting us know where you're watching from and what time it is. In the pale hush before dawn, when the world is still wrapped in a gentle shroud of mist and the roads of Skyrim lie silent beneath the watchful gaze of distant mountains, a lone figure moves along the winding path toward Riverwood. His steps are soft, almost soundless, the pads of his feet pressing into the dew-soaked earth with a grace born not only of feline heritage but of years spent wandering. This is Make, known to some as the Liar, to others as the Sage, and to most as a mystery wrapped in riddles and laughter. His fur, a patchwork of tawny gold and shadow, glimmers faintly in the first uncertain light, and his tail flicks with a rhythm that seems to mark time itself, a private music, unheard by any but him. The world around Make is quiet, save for the gentle rustle of leaves in the breeze and the distant call of a night bird returning to its nest. The air is cool, tinged with the scent of pine and river water, and the mist curls around his ankles in lazy eddies, as if reluctant to let him pass. He pauses at the crest of a small rise, gazing out over the valley below where the roofs of Riverwood huddle together like children beneath a mother's cloak. The throat of the world looms beyond, its snowy peak catching the first rays of sunlight and scattering them across the land in 1,000 golden shards. Make stands there for a moment, silent and still, his eyes reflecting the changing sky. In his mind, memories drift like clouds, some sharp and clear, others blurred by the passage of time. He hums an old tune, a lullaby from elsewhere. Soft and low, the words lost to the ages, but the melody lingering like the scent of warm sand after rain. The song is for no one but himself, a comfort against the loneliness that sometimes creeps in at the edges of his wandering life. He resumes his journey, the trinkets at his belt jingling softly with each step. Some are gifts from strangers met along the road, a carved wooden fish from a child in Bravel, a silver coin stamped with the face of an emperor long dead, a feather plucked from the wing of a crow who once shared his campfire. Each carries a story, and Make remembers them all, though he rarely tells the tales the same way twice. Stories, he knows, are like rivers. They change course with every telling, carving new paths through the landscape of memory. As he approaches the edge of the village, the first stirrings of life begin to ripple through Riverwood. Smoke rises from chimneys, and the faint clatter of a blacksmith's hammer echoes across the water. Make slips through the waking streets like a shadow, nodding to the baker as she kneads her dough, to the miller as he checks the gears of his wheel. Some greet him with cautious smiles, others with wary glances. They know his reputation, have heard the stories whispered over cups of mead in the sleeping giant inn. Some say he is a trickster, spinning tales that lead travelers astray. Others claim he is a sage, his riddles hiding truths too dangerous to speak plainly. All agree on one thing: Make is not to be trusted, and yet, somehow, he is impossible to ignore. He pauses by the river, watching the water tumble over smooth stones, its surface broken only by the darting flash of a trout or the ripple of a leaf carried downstream. The sun climbs higher, burning away the last of the mist, and the world awakens in earnest. Children chase each other through the grass, their laughter ringing out like bells, and Make smiles to himself, remembering a time when he too was young and the world seemed vast and full of promise. A fisherman approaches, his boots squelching in the mud, and nods in greeting. "Make," he says, "what news do you bring from the road? Have you seen the dragons with your own eyes?" Make tilts his head, considering the question, his whiskers twitching in amusement. Make has seen many things, he replies, his voice soft as velvet. Dragons, yes, and cheese that walks on 2 legs. But some things are best left to the wind, yes. The fisherman laughs, shaking his head, and returns to his nets, content with the answer, or perhaps simply glad for the company. Make continues on, his path winding through the village and out into the fields beyond. The grass is tall and golden, swaying in the breeze like a sea of sunlight, and the air is filled with the hum of bees and the distant song of a lark. He walks slowly, savoring the warmth on his fur and the gentle caress of the wind. In the distance, the mountains rise like ancient guardians, their peaks crowned with snow, and Make feels the familiar tug of wanderlust stirring in his heart. He remembers the roads he has traveled, The dusty trails of Hammerfell, the tangled jungles of Valenwood, the endless sands of Elsewhere. Each place has left its mark upon him, a patchwork of memories stitched together by the thread of his journey. He recalls the faces of those he has met, a Dwemer priest who wept for lost Morrowind, an Imperial soldier haunted by dreams of war, a Bosmere child who believed the stars were the eyes of the gods. Make carries their stories with him, tucked away like treasures in the pockets of his mind. As the day wears on, Make finds himself beneath the shade of an ancient pine, its branches spreading wide above him like the arms of a kindly ancestor. He settles at its base, drawing his knees to his chest and closing his eyes. The world is quiet here, the only sound the soft sigh of the wind through the needles and the distant murmur of the river. He listens, letting the silence seep into his bones, and for a moment, he feels a peace. He dreams of Elsewhere, of moons hanging low in a velvet sky, and the scent of jasmine on the night air. He dreams of laughter and music, of stories told around a fire, of the gentle touch of a mother's hand. The dreams are bittersweet, tinged with longing, but Make does not shy away from them. He knows that to wander is to carry both joy and sorrow, to be at once a part of every place and yet belonging to none. When he wakes, the sun is dipping toward the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and rose. Make stands, stretching the stiffness from his limbs, and resumes his journey. The road ahead is long, and the night will soon fall, but Make is unafraid. He has walked these paths before, and he will walk them again, as long as there are stories to tell and ears to listen. He moves on, his silhouette framed against the dying light, a solitary figure on an endless road. Behind him, Riverwood settles into evening, the windows glowing with the promise of warmth and hearth. Ahead, the world waits, full of secrets and wonders, and Make the Liar walks to meet them, his heart light and his mind full of dreams. Make the Liar is known by many names in many provinces, yet none truly know him. Some say he is a trickster, others a sage. He walks alone, but the stories that follow him are never silent. In the shifting dawn, as the world stirs with the promise of another day, Make's silhouette glides along the lonely road, his stride both languid and purposeful. The Cageat's fur, a tapestry of gold and shadow, gleams faintly in the pale light, and his amber eyes reflect 1,000 tales, some true, most not, and all of them his. He is the kind of wanderer whose presence is felt long after his footprints have faded from the dust, whose words linger in the minds of those he meets, weaving themselves into the fabric of local legend. In Skyrim, he is a whisper on the wind, the Cageat who speaks of dragons and cheese, who claims to have seen the world's end and watched it begin again. In Cyrodiil, he is a shadow in the marketplace, trading riddles for bread and vanishing before the city guard can question his origins. In Elsewhere, his homeland, he is a memory, a name spoken with fondness or frustration, depending on the tale. Some say he can walk between the moons, others that he once stole the sun and returned it only when the world promised to laugh at his jokes. Yet for all the stories, none can say with certainty who Make truly is. Is he a trickster, spinning yarns for his own amusement, delighting in the confusion he sows? Or is he a sage, his riddles concealing wisdom too sharp for the unprepared mind? Perhaps he is both, or neither, a wanderer shaped by the roads he walks and the stories he gathers, a mirror held up to the world's own uncertainties. Make's journey is a solitary one, but he is never truly alone. The tales that trail in his wake are as constant as his shadow, and wherever he goes, people remember. In the wilds of Hammerfell, a Redguard merchant recalls the Cageat who convinced him that the sands themselves were alive, whispering secrets to those who listened. In the tangled jungles of Valenwood, a Bosmere child swears she saw Make leap from tree to tree, pursued by a flock of angry Spriggans, only to vanish with a wink and a laugh. In every province, the stories shift and change, growing in the telling. Some are harmless. Make the jester, Make the storyteller, Make who claims to have seen mud crabs more fearsome than Daedra. Others are darker. Make the spy, Make the thief, Make who knows too much and says too little. Yet none who meet him can say they left unchanged, for make-yes words have a way of burrowing into the mind, unsettling certainties and planting new questions. He walks alone, but the world walks with him, in memory and in myth. Each encounter is a ripple in the great river of Tamriel's stories, and Make is content to drift along its current, never lingering too long in one place, never allowing himself to be pinned down by truth or lie. For Make knows that in the end, it is the stories that matter, the laughter, the wonder, the confusion. The world is vast and strange, and Make the Liar is its most faithful chronicler, wandering ever onward, a smile on his lips and a secret in his heart. In the shadow of the throat of the world, where the air grows thin and the snow never fully melts, Make the Liar pauses upon a rocky outcropping to watch the sun's first light gild the ancient drifts. The world here is silent but for the whisper of wind over stone, and the hush is so deep it seems to press against the fur of his ears. He stands still, tail curled around his ankles, the weight of his travels momentarily forgotten. The mountain looms above, impossibly vast, its peak lost in a swirl of cloud and dawn fire, and Make feels small beneath its gaze, a single soul adrift in the endless sweep of time. He closes his eyes and hums, the melody low and winding, an old lullaby from elsewhere that his mother once sang beneath the twin moons. The notes drift out into the cold air, curling like smoke, and the memory of warm sands and gentle nights washes over him. In his mind, he is a kid again, chasing fireflies through the sugarcane, the laughter of his kin rising like birdsong as the moons hum fat and low on the horizon. The scent of jasmine and spice, the taste of sweet fruit, the soft press of a loving hand, these things linger in the psalm, woven through each note like threads of gold. But here, far from home, the world is changed. The snow glows pink and gold as the sun climbs higher, and the wind carries only the sharp tang of ice and pine. Make opens his eyes, and for a moment, the memory in the present blur, the warmth of elsewhere flickers in the sunrise, and the mountain shadow stretches long and blue across the valley below. He wonders if the moons remember him, if they watch his journey with the same fondness he feels for their distant light. He wonders if the stories he carries are enough to bridge the gap between what was and what is. The path before him is steep and winding, carved by centuries of footsteps in the slow, patient work of wind and water. Make studies it with a practiced eye, noting the places where ice clings stubbornly to the stone and the patches where hardy moss has found a foothold. He knows the dangers of these mountains, the sudden storms, the lurking trolls, the way the cold can slip beneath your skin and steal your breath away. Yet he does not hurry. There is time enough for caution, and the world is too beautiful in this quiet hour to rush. As he walks, his thoughts drift like snowflakes, settling on memories both sweet and bitter. He remembers the first time he saw the throat of the world, rising impossibly high above the plains of Whiterun, its summit lost in cloud. He remembers the stories told by Nords in firelit halls, tales of dragons and heroes, of gods who walked the land and left their footprints in stone. He remembers laughter and suspicion, kindness and cruelty, and the way every place he visits leaves its mark upon him, shaping his journey in ways both subtle and profound. The sun climbs higher, and the snow begins to melt in earnest, sending rivulets of water trickling down the rocks. Make crouches beside a small stream, cupping his hands to drink. The water is shockingly cold, but it tastes of life and the promise of spring. He wipes his mouth and gazes out across the valley, where the forest stretched green and dark beneath the pale sky. Somewhere below, a hawk wheels in slow circles, its cry echoing off the cliffs. Make smiles, thinking of the stories he will tell of this place, of the mountain that touches the sky, of the sunrise that turned the world to gold, of the Cagiate who paused to remember the warmth of home. He moves on, following the path as it winds downward, the snow crunching beneath his feet. The world is waking now, birds call from the trees, and the distant sound of an axe rings through the air. Make hums his lullaby once more, letting the music carry him forward, a thread of memory and hope woven through the tapestry of his wandering life. The throat of the world stands silent behind him, its secrets safe for another day, and Make the Liar walks on. carrying the sunrise and the song within him, a piece of elsewhere shining bright in the heart of Skyrim. Villagers greet Make with wary smiles, unsure if his words are riddles or wisdom. He arrives in the soft morning light, his approach gentle, his presence somehow both unobtrusive and impossible to ignore. The people of the village, farmers, millers, and smiths, pause in their routines, watching as the caveat pads quietly through the main square, his tail flicking with a rhythm only he understands. Some nod in greeting, their eyes narrowed in suspicion or amusement, while others simply watch, uncertain what to make of this traveler who carries so many stories in his wake. Make offers tales as easily as others offer bread or coin. He speaks of dragons that soar above the clouds, their scales gleaming like burnished gold in the sunlight, and of cheese that walks on two legs, seeking out the unwary with a hunger only the boldest adventurers dare to face. He tells of mud crabs lurking in the shallows, their claws snapping with secret malice, and of men who walk like wolves, howling at the moons and vanishing into the night. Each story is delivered with a sly smile, his whiskers twitching in amusement, and the villagers cannot help but listen, drawn in by the cadence of his voice and the glint of mischief in his eyes. Children gather at his feet, wide-eyed and eager, hanging on every word. They laugh at his tales of cheese and mud crabs, shivering in delight at the mention of werewolves and dragons. The elders listen too, though they hide their interest behind skeptical frowns and muttered comments. Yet even they cannot deny the pull of Make's stories, the way his words weave themselves into the fabric of the day, brightening the morning with laughter and doubt. To some, Make is a harmless jester, a wandering storyteller whose tales are meant only to amuse. To others, he is a sage, his riddles hiding truths too sharp for the unprepared mind. Whispers follow him wherever he goes, that he knows things no one else does, that he has seen the world's end and watched it begin again, that his words are a test for those wise enough to listen. The truth, as always, is somewhere in between, and Make is content to let the stories grow and change with each telling. He sits by the village well, surrounded by a circle of listeners, and spins a tale of the throat of the world, where the snow glows gold in the sunrise and the wind carries secrets from one age to the next. He speaks of a time when the moons hung low and the sands of elsewhere were warm beneath his feet, of laughter and music and the scent of jasmine on the night air. The villagers listen, caught between wonder and skepticism, unsure whether to believe or to laugh. As the day wears on, Make moves from one group to another, his stories shifting to match his audience. To the blacksmith, he speaks of enchanted hammers that sing as they strike the anvil, forging blades sharp enough to cut through shadow. To the baker, he tells of a loaf of bread so delicious that even the gods wept to taste it. To the guards, he offers a tale of a thief who could slip through walls and vanish into thin air, leaving only a single silver coin behind as proof of his passing. Each story is a thread in the tapestry of Tamriel, woven with laughter and doubt. The villagers may not know what to make of Make, but they remember his words long after he is gone. His tales linger in the air like the scent of rain on dry earth, seeping into dreams and conversations, coloring the world with a touch of magic and mystery. As evening falls and the sky turns to gold and rose, Make prepares to leave. The villagers watch him go, some shaking their heads, others smiling quietly to themselves. They do not know if his words were riddles or wisdom, but they are grateful for the stories, for the laughter and the wonder he brought with him. And as Make disappears down the winding road, his silhouette framed by the setting sun, the stories follow him, never silent, always growing, always changing, a living tapestry of Tamriel, woven with the threads of truth and lies, laughter and doubt. By the banks of Lake Ilinalta, where the water stretches wide and placid beneath the watchful gaze of distant mountains, Make finds a moment of quiet. The lake's surface mirrors the sky, broken only by the gentle rise of mist and the ripple of a lone fish. Here, the world seems to hold its breath, and time slows to the rhythm of lapping waves and the distant cry of a heron. Make sits on a smooth stone, his paws tucked beneath him, the cool air stirring the fur along his neck. He is content to listen, to the water, to the wind, to the stories that drift unseen through the morning haze. A fisherman approaches, boots squelching in the mud, his net heavy with the promise of breakfast. He is a sturdy Nord, his face weathered by sun and wind, his eyes sharp with curiosity. He recognizes Make, as so many do, and offers a cautious greeting. "You there, Kajiat? They say you know things, strange things. Tell me, have you seen the dragons? Are they truly returned?" Make's eyes, golden and deep, reflect the shifting ripples of the lake. He smiles, a slow, knowing curl of his lips, and considers the question as if tasting a rare spice. Make has seen many things, he replies, his voice soft and musical. Dragons in the clouds, dragons in the dreams of men. Some say the dragons never left, only slept, waiting for the world to remember their names. He pauses, watching the fisherman's face, searching for fear or wonder. But some secrets, Make continues, are best left to the wind. The world is old, yes, and its stories older still. Not all should be woken. The fisherman frowns, uncertain if he is being mocked or warned. He looks out over the water, where the mist curls and the sun begins to burn through the clouds. "But they say Helgent burned," he mutters. "They say the Jarl's men saw wings as wide as the sky." Make shrugs, his whiskers twitching. Wings are easy to see when one is looking for them. Sometimes a shadow is only a bird. Sometimes it is more. Make wonders, does it matter if the story is true, or only that it is told? The fisherman shakes his head, but there is a smile at the corner of his mouth. He has heard enough tales to know that truth is a slippery thing, and that Make's words, though wrapped in riddles, carry their own kind of sense. He thanks the Kajiat and returns to his nets, the question of dragons now tangled with the morning's catch, a story to share over ale and firelight. Make remains by the water, watching the sunlight dance across the ripples. He thinks of the dragons, of their ancient hunger, their pride, their power. He remembers stories told in the shadow of the throat of the world, of fire and fear, of heroes and endings. He remembers, too, the tales whispered in the dark corners of ends, where fear grows with every retelling and hope is a fragile thing. Make knows that stories have power, that they shape the world as surely as any sword or spell. He rises, stretching the stiffness from his limbs, and follows the curve of the shore. The lake is wide, its depths mysterious, and Make wonders what secrets lie beneath its surface. Perhaps there are dragons sleeping in the mud, or ancient spirits drifting in the cold, dark water. Perhaps there is only silence, and the memory of things lost. Make hums an old tune, a song of water and wind, and lets the music carry his thoughts away. As he walks, he passes other fishermen, their faces lined with worry and hope. Some nod in greeting, others avert their eyes, unsure what to make of the Kajiat with his riddles and smiles. Make offers each a word, a joke, a fragment of song. He speaks of mud crabs with dreams of flight, of cheese that sings to the moon, of shadows that dance when no one is watching. The fishermen laugh, shake their heads, and return to their work, the strangeness of Make's tales lingering in the air like the scent of rain. By midday, the sun is high, and the lake sparkles with 1,000 points of light. Make finds a quiet cove, where lilies bloom and dragonflies skim the surface. He sits and watches, content to be a part of the world's slow turning. He thinks of the fisherman's question, of dragons and secrets, and wonders how many stories the lake has swallowed over the years. Perhaps the water remembers every word, every hope, every fear. Perhaps it waits, patient and silent, for someone to listen. Make closes his eyes and breathes in the scent of water and earth. He lets the stories settle, like silt drifting to the bottom of the lake. Some secrets, he knows, are best left undisturbed, their power growing in the dark. Others must be told, carried on the wind, shaping the world in ways both great and small. Make is content to be the teller, the wanderer, the keeper of riddles and laughter. The world is wide, The road is long, and the stories are never silent. In Wyderen's bustling market, Make weaves through the morning crowds, the sense of fresh bread and roasting meat mingling with the sharper tang of tanned hides and spilled meat. The city is alive with noise and motion, merchants hawking their wares, children darting between stalls, and guards in battered armor watching all with practiced suspicion. Make moves easily among them, his steps light, his tail flicking in time with the market's rhythm. He pauses at a baker's stall, the warmth of the oven a welcome contrast to the crisp Skyrim air, and offers a handful of moon sugar in exchange for a loaf still steaming from the hearth. The baker eyes the crystalline powder with a mix of curiosity and caution, but she knows the Khajiit's kind and accepts the trade with a grateful nod. Make tears off a piece of bread, savoring its softness, and listens as the world swirls around him. The guards nearby grumble, their voices low but urgent, their words heavy with the weight of war. They speak of stormcloaks and imperials, of shifting allegiances and the uncertainty that hangs over the city like a gathering store. Their faces are drawn, their eyes darting from stranger to stranger, searching for threats both real and imagined. Make drifts closer, drawn by the undercurrent of fear and hope that runs through their conversation. He does not interrupt, but his presence is felt, a silent observer, a shadow at the edge of their worries. One guard, younger than the rest, glances at him and mutters, "What do you think, Khajiit? Will Wytron stand? Or will we all be swept away by the tide?" Make smiles, his eyes bright with secrets, and considers the question as he chews his bread. "Wars come and go," he says at last, his voice soft but clear, carrying just enough to reach the guards without drawing the attention of the crowd. Cities rise and fall, but the true battle, Make thinks, is not fought with swords or shields. It is fought here. He taps his chest, just above his heart, and lets the words hang in the air. The guards fall silent, uncertain whether to laugh or take his meaning to heart. He watches the people move through the market, the old woman haggling for a better price on apples, the young couple whispering by the well, the smith's apprentice struggling beneath the weight of a new blade. Each face is marked by worry, by hope, by the quiet determination to see another day. Make wonders how many battles are fought in silence, how many hearts carry scars unseen by any but themselves. He moves on, his loaf of bread tucked beneath his arm, and listens to the stories that swirl around him. A merchant boasts of profits made despite the war, his laughter forced and brittle. A mother soothes her crying child, promising that the fighting will not reach their door. An old Nord tells anyone who will listen that the gods themselves watch over Whiterun, that no harm will come as long as the city's walls stand strong. Make hears the fear beneath their words, the longing for certainty in a world that offers none. He pauses at a stall selling trinkets and amulets, his eyes drawn to a pendant shaped like a dragon's claw. The merchant, a Dwemer with quick hands and a quicker tongue, tries to draw him into conversation, but Make only smiles and shakes his head. He has no need for charms or promises. The stories are enough. As the sun climbs higher, the market grows busier, the noise swelling until it seems the very stones of Whiterun hum with life. Make finds a quiet corner near the Gilder Green, the sacred tree at the heart of the city, and sits to watch the world go by. He breaks off another piece of bread and offers it to a passing child, who accepts with a shy smile before darting away. Make leans back, his eyes half closed, and lets the warmth of the sun and the murmur of voices wash over him. He thinks of the wars he has seen, the banners and the blood, the speeches and the silences that follow. He thinks of the hearts that break and mend, of the courage found in the smallest acts of kindness. He wonders if the guards will remember his words, if they will carry the battle in their hearts long after the swords have been sheathed. In the end, Make knows, every city is built on stories of struggle and survival, of laughter and loss. The market will empty, the crowds will fade, but the stories will remain, woven into the stones and the soil, waiting for the next wanderer to listen. Make rises, brushing crumbs from his fur, and slips away into the city's winding streets, his heart light, his mind full of tales yet to be told. The true battle, he thinks, is never truly over. It is fought each day, in every choice, in every heart. And for now, that is enough. As night falls, Make finds shelter beneath the outstretched branches of an ancient pine, its trunk gnarled and roots deep, a silent witness to countless years of wind and snow. The last rays of sunlight slip away behind the distant mountains, and the world hushes into a gentle twilight, the air crisp and fragrant with the scent of needles and earth. Make settles himself at the pine's base, curling his tail around his legs, his body a quiet silhouette against the soft glow of the dying day. Above him, the sky unfurls in a tapestry of stars, each one flickering with a cold, steady light. The moons, Joan and Jode, rise in their slow dance, casting silver shadows across the clearing and painting the world in a pale, ethereal glow. Make gazes upward, his golden eyes reflecting the constellations, and lets his thoughts drift to the old Khajiit stories, tales whispered by elders on warm desert nights when the sand still held the heat of the sun and the air shimmered with the promise of dreams. It is said among his people that the stars are the tears of Joan and Jode, shed for those who wander without a home. Each point of light, a memory of longing and loss, a silent promise that the moons watch over all who travel the lonely roads of Nur. Make remembers the first time he heard the story, curled beside his mother beneath a sky just like this, her voice soft as velvet as she spoke of the gods' sorrow and the comfort they offer to those who journey far from the familiar. Now, beneath the northern sky, Make feels the truth of those words settle gently in his heart. The world is vast and filled with uncertainty, and though he has walked many roads and seen many wonders, there are moments when the weight of solitude presses close. Yet in the hush of night, with the stars burning bright and the ancient pine standing sentinel above him, he finds a quiet peace, a sense of belonging not to a place, but to the endless story that binds all wanderers together. He listens to the sounds of the night, the distant call of an owl, the soft rustle of a fox in the underbrush, the sigh of the wind as it weaves through the branches. Each sound is a thread in the tapestry of Tamriel, a reminder that even in solitude, he is never truly alone. The land itself remembers, holding the echoes of every footstep, every whispered hope, every story told beneath the stars. May closes his eyes and breathes deeply, letting the cool air fill his lungs. He thinks of the many places he has called shelter, stone ruins and mossy caves, bustling inns and quiet glades, and knows that each has shaped him in ways both seen and unseen. He carries their memory with him, just as he carries the stories of those he has met, the laughter of children in Riverwood, the wary questions of guards in Whiterun, the fisherman's wonder by Lake Ilanelta. Tonight, the world feels gentle, wrapped in the soft embrace of darkness and starlight. May comes a fragment of an old lullaby, the melody winding upward to join the silent chorus of the night. He wonders how many others, across the wide expanse of Tamriel, look up at the same sky and remember the same stories. He wonders if the moons truly weep for those who wander, or if, perhaps, their tears are a blessing, a reminder that even the gods know longing, and that every journey is watched over by ancient eyes. As sleep begins to claim him, Make offers a silent prayer to Joan and Jode, thanking them for their light and for the stories that guide his steps. The stars shimmer above, steady and eternal, and the night holds him close, a wanderer at peace beneath the endless sky. The next day, Make travels south, leaving the shelter of the ancient pine behind, his footprints a fading memory in the morning dew. The sky above is a vast canvas of blue, unmarred by clouds, and the air carries the sweet scent of ripening grain. The path winds through fields of golden wheat, the stalks swaying in gentle waves that catch the sunlight and transform the landscape into a sea of burnished gold. Make walks with unhurried steps, his tail flicking in contentment, his eyes taking in the simple beauty of the farmlands that stretch toward the distant horizon. The wheat rustles as he passes, a soft, whispering sound that reminds him of stories told around campfires in the deserts of his homeland. He pauses at the edge of a particularly lush field, running his paw along the tops of the stalks, feeling the gentle resistance of the grain against his fur. The touch awakens memories of harvests long past, of celebrations beneath the moons, of songs sung in praise of abundance and life. A farmer approaches, his weathered face creased with the lines of many seasons spent beneath the sun. He carries a scythe over one shoulder, and his clothes bear the honest stains of soil and sweat. He nods to Make, a cautious greeting tinged with the natural wariness that many in Skyrim show toward Khajiit travelers. But there is curiosity in his eyes as well, and perhaps a touch of loneliness, the hunger for conversation that comes from days spent in solitary labor. "Good day to you, traveler," the farmer calls, his voice rough but not unkind. "Fine weather for the crops, eh? Haven't seen rain in a fortnight, but the wheat stands tall nonetheless." Make smiles, his whiskers twitching with amusement at the simple greeting that contains so much pride in the land, concern for the harvest, the careful measuring of a stranger that is the habit of those who live far from the protection of city walls. "Indeed," he replies, his accent rolling the words like smooth stones. "The land is generous when treated with respect. Make has seen many fields, but few as golden as these." The farmer straightens, pleased by the compliment, and moves closer. They stand together at the edge of the field, two figures small against the vastness of the sky and earth. The wheat rustles around them, and Make tilts his head, as if listening to a distant melody. "The grass sings when no one is listening," he says suddenly, his voice soft but clear. "It knows many songs, old songs, from before men walked these fields. Sometimes, if one is very quiet, one can hear the music of growing things, the rhythm of roots reaching into soil, the harmony of leaves turning toward the sun." The farmer laughs, a short, surprised sound that scatters a nearby flock of sparrows into flight. "Is that so?" he says, shaking his head. "And what do they sing about, these talking grasses of yours?" Make shrugs, his eyes twinkling with mischief and something deeper, a knowledge that dances at the edge of understanding. "They sing of rain and drought, of winter's sleep and spring's awakening. They sing of the feet that have walked these paths, the hunters and the hunted, the warriors and the wanderers. They remember when the land was wild, and they dream of what it may become." He pauses, watching the farmer's face. All things have voices, if one knows how to listen. The farmer's laughter fades, replaced by a thoughtful expression. He looks out over his fields with new eyes, seeing not just the promise of bread and coin, but something more, a living tapestry, a story written in soil and seed. "My grandfather used to say something similar," he admits. "Claimed he could tell when storms were coming by the way the wheat moved, even when there wasn't any wind. I always thought he was just spinning tales to impress his children. Perhaps," Make says, "or perhaps he had learned to listen. The old ones often remember what the young have forgotten." They talk a while longer, of harvests and weather, of the war that seems both distant and too close, of the dragons that some say have returned to darken the skies of Skyrim. The farmer offers Make a heel of bread and a cup of water from his skin, a simple hospitality that means more than grand feasts in marble halls. Make accepts with grace, sharing in return a pinch of spice from a small pouch at his belt, a taste of distant lands that makes the plain bread sing with flavor. As the sun begins its descent toward the western mountains, Make takes his leave, continuing his journey southward. The farmer watches him go, a strange figure against the golden fields, and wonders about the words they shared. That night, after his work is done and his family sleeps, the farmer sits on the porch of his modest home, a mug of ale in his hand, and listens to the darkness. At first, there is only silence, broken by the familiar sounds of night, the hoot of an owl, the rustle of small creatures in the underbrush, the distant howl of a wolf. But as the moons rise and the stars wheel overhead, he begins to hear something else, a soft, rhythmic sound that might be the wind through the wheat, or might be something more. He closes his eyes and listens more intently, letting go of thought, of expectation, of the boundary between self and world. And there, at the edge of perception, he hears it, a faint melody, ancient and new all at once, rising from the earth like mist after rain. The song of growing things, of life persisting through seasons of plenty and want, of roots reaching deep and stalks stretching toward the sky. He sits motionless, afraid that any movement might break the spell, and lets the music wash over him like gentle waves. When he finally opens his eyes, the night seems different, more alive, more mysterious, more filled with possibility. He smiles to himself, thinking of the strange Khajiit traveler whose words led him to this moment of wonder. Perhaps Make is indeed a liar, as some claim, but sometimes the farmer thinks a lie can lead to truth if one is willing to listen. In the morning, he will return to his work with new eyes, seeing in each stalk of wheat not just the promise of sustenance, but a verse in an endless song. And far to the south, Make continues his journey, leaving behind footprints that fade and stories that endure, a wanderer in a world full of wonders for those who know how to see them. In the ruins of an Ayleid well, Make sits quietly, feeling the echoes of forgotten magic. The ancient stones are cool beneath him, half swallowed by moss and time, their pale surfaces etched with the delicate, flowing script of a people long vanished. Shafts of sunlight filter through the collapsed roof, casting shifting patterns across the ground, remnants of a civilization that once shaped light itself, now surrendered to the slow, patient embrace of the forest. Make rests in the hush, the air heavy with the scent of damp earth and wildflowers. The silence here is not empty, but full, a living thing, thick with memory. He closes his eyes and listens, not with his ears, but with the deeper sense that all wanderers develop, the ability to feel the heartbeat of a place, to sense the stories that linger where voices have faded. The Ayleid ruins, scattered across Cyrodiil and beyond, are haunted not by restless spirits, but by the memory of light and shadow dancing as one. He traces a finger along the rim of the well, feeling the faint tingle of magicka that still clings to the stone. In the days of the Ayleids, this place would have been alive with song and laughter. Water drawn from the depths would have sparkled with enchantment, and the air would have hummed with the power of starlight captured and bent to mortal will. Now, only echoes remain, but to Make, the echoes are enough. He whispers to the stones, speaking in the old tongue of elsewhere, his words little more than a breath. What do you remember, old ones? What dreams linger in your bones? The ruins do not answer with words, but with sensation, a ripple of warmth, a flicker of light at the edge of vision. Make feels the memories unfold around him, not as images, but as feelings, the joy of creation, the pride of mastery, the sorrow of loss. For a moment, the veil of years grows thin. He sees, as if in a dream, the Ayleids moving through the courtyard, tall and graceful, their eyes bright with the reflected glow of magicka. They speak in voices like music, their laughter ringing out beneath the stars. Make senses their reverence for the light, but also their understanding of shadow. To the Ayleids, light and darkness were not enemies, but partners in a dance as old as the world itself. They shaped both, weaving them together in art and architecture, in song and spell. The memory shifts, and Make feels the coming of sorrow. The light grows harsh, the shadows deep. He senses the fear that crept into the hearts of the Ayleids as their power waned and their enemies grew bold. He feels the chill of abandonment, the slow crumbling of stone and spirit as the world changed and the old ways faded. The well, once a source of life and wonder, became a relic, its magic fading, its purpose forgotten. Yet even in ruin, the place endures. The stones remember, holding fast to the last traces of beauty and hope. Make opens his eyes and gazes into the darkness at the bottom of the well. He imagines the water that once shimmered there, reflecting 1,000 stars, each one a promise that light and shadow would always find their balance. He sits in silence, letting the memories settle around him like dust. The forest breathes, and the ruins breathe with it. a slow, steady rhythm that speaks of endurance and quiet strength. Mate feels a kinship with these stones, so far from their beginning, shaped by forces beyond their control, yet still holding on to the essence of what they once were. He rises at last, brushing moss from his fur, and offers a final whisper of thanks. The stones do not reply, but he feels their gratitude in the warmth that lingers beneath his paw. As he steps away from the well, the sun shifts, and for a moment, the ruins seem to glow, a fleeting reminder of the time when light and shadow danced as one, and all things were possible. Mate continues his journey, carrying with him the memory of the Ayleids and their vanished glory. He knows that the world is full of such places, ruins where magic still lingers, waiting for someone to listen. He walks on, a wanderer among echoes, his heart attuned to the silent stories that shape the land. A group of adventurers find Make resting by the roadside. They ask him about the lost Dwemer. Make shrugs, suggesting perhaps the Dwemer simply tired of questions and walked away. The road south from the Ayleid ruins winds through low, grassy hills and stands of wind-bent trees, the kind that seem to lean always toward the next horizon. Make finds a comfortable spot at the roadside, where the sun warms a patch of moss and the breeze carries the distant scent of wildflowers and wood smoke. He sits cross-legged, tail curled around his ankles, a picture of contentment and patience. The world is quiet here, save for the occasional chirp of a cricket or the flutter of a bird taking wing. It is here, in this gentle hush, that a group of adventurers comes upon him. Their boots crunch on the gravel, their voices low and wary, as if the road itself might be listening. There are 4 of them, a broad-shouldered Nord with a battered shield slung across his back, a sharp-eyed boss mare with a bow nearly as tall as she is, a Regard whose armor gleams with careful polish, and a Breton mage, his robes trailing dust and his hands stained with the faint blue of magicka residue. They pause when they see Make, exchanging glances that speak of both curiosity and caution. The Nord is the first to speak, his voice booming in the open air. "Oh there, Kajiat. You look far from any caravan. What brings you to this lonely stretch of road?" Make blinks slowly, as if waking from a pleasant dream. Make goes where the wind takes him, he replies, his tone light, and sometimes the wind brings interesting company. He gestures to the moss beside him, inviting them to rest. The adventurers, weary from travel and perhaps a little enchanted by the Kajiat's calm, settle around him. They share water and bread, the easy camaraderie of those who have faced danger together. After a while, the conversation turns, as it so often does among wanderers, to the mysteries of Tamriel. It is the Breton mage who asks the question, his voice tinged with the hunger for knowledge that marks his kind. "You've traveled far, Make. Tell us, what do you know of the Dwemer? Did you ever find a clue to where they vanished?" At this, the group leans in, as bright with anticipation. The lost Dwemer, dwarves, as some call them, are a puzzle that has haunted scholars and treasure seekers for centuries. Their ruins dot the land, filled with strange machines in silent halls, but no living soul has seen a true Dwemer in an age. Make shrugs, a gesture both casual and profound. Ah, the Dwemer. So many questions, so few answers. Make thinks perhaps the Dwemer's simply tired of questions and walked away. He lets the words hang in the air, a gentle riddle, and smiles as the adventurers react. The Nord laughs, shaking his head. Walked away? From what? Their own cities. From everything, perhaps, Make replies. From noise and war, from being watched and wondered about. Sometimes, when the world grows too loud, even the cleverest cat seeks a quiet place to nap. The bobmare, always alert for hidden meaning, narrows her eyes. But what about all their machines? Their cities still hum with power. Their automatons still guard empty halls. Why leave so much behind? Make's gaze drifts to the horizon. Things are only things. Even the greatest treasures become burdens if carried too long. Maybe the Dwemer left their toys for others to find, to keep the curious busy while they found peace elsewhere. The Regard, practical and direct, leans forward. Do you believe they're still alive, somewhere? Make considers. Alive? Dead? Changed into something new? Who can say? The world is full of doors, and not all of them open the way we expect. Make once knew a cat who disappeared for days and returned with a new name. Perhaps the Dwemer did the same. The Breton sighs, half amused, half frustrated. You're not going to give us a straight answer, are you? Make us whiskers twitch with mischief. Straight answers are for straight roads, and Make prefers the winding path. But tell Make, if you could find the Dwemer, what would you ask them? The adventurers fall silent, each pondering the question. The Nord thinks of glory and lost weapons, the Bosmere of secrets hidden in stone, the Regard of knowledge to protect her people, and the Breton of magics undreamed of. Make watches their faces, seeing the dreams and doubts flicker in their eyes. The sun dips lower, casting long shadows across the road. The group rises, gathering their packs and weapons, the spell of the moment broken but not forgotten. The Nord claps Make on the shoulder, the Bosmere offers a nod of respect, the Regard a small, grateful smile, and the Breton a lingering look of curiosity. As they walk away, their voices fade into the distance, already debating the meaning of Make's words. Make remains seated, listening to the wind as it stirs the grass and rustles the leaves. He knows that some questions are meant to be answered, and others are meant to be carried, like pebbles in a pocket, smooth and comforting. He stretches, stands, and continues down the road, his own questions trailing behind him like a tail. The world is full of mysteries, and Make is content to walk among them, offering riddles and smiles, never quite giving away the truth, but always leaving a story behind for those willing to listen. Crossing into Cyrodiil, Make's pace slows as the landscape shifts from wild borderlands to the gentle, rolling hills and cultivated fields of the Imperial heartland. The air is softer here, tinged with the scent of distant orchards and the faintest trace of incense wafting from unseen chapels. In the hush of early evening, Make finds himself drawn to a quiet chapel set on a rise above a sleepy village, its stone walls dappled with the last gold of sunset. He enters silently, his paws making no sound on the worn flagstones. The chapel is small, its nave lined with wooden pews and simple stained glass windows that cast colored light across the floor. Candles flicker on the altar, their flames mirrored in polished brass, and the air is thick with the mingled scents of wax, old wood, and the faintest memory of flowers. There is peace here, a sense of stillness that seems to reach back through the years, gathering up the hopes and sorrows of all who have come before. Make moves to the altar, where rows of candles burn in memory of the departed. He selects one, its wick unlit among the others, and with a careful claw, draws a spark from the flame of its neighbor. The new light flares and steadies, a small beacon in the gathering dusk. Make bows his head, offering a silent thought for those whose journeys have ended, for friends and strangers alike whose stories now belong to the past. He reaches into his pouch and leaves a single coin in the offering bowl, a quiet gesture for the living, a wish that their burdens might be eased, if only for a moment. The priest, an elderly Imperial with kind eyes and a voice softened by years of prayer, approaches from the shadows near the choir. He watches Make with gentle curiosity, noting the way the Cageat's gaze lingers on the flickering lights, the way his ears twitch at the faint sound of distant bells. "You are far from home, traveler," the priest says, his words low and respectful. "Do you seek comfort from the gods, or simply a place to rest?" Make turns, his eyes reflecting the candlelight, and considers the question. Make seeks many things, he replies, his tone both playful and sincere. Sometimes comfort, sometimes answers. Sometimes only a quiet place to listen to the stories that linger in the walls. The priest smiles, folding his hands in his sleeves. "Do you believe in the gods, then? In their power to guide and protect?" There is no challenge in his voice, only genuine curiosity, the gentle probing of a man who has spent a lifetime tending to the doubts and hopes of others. Make's whiskers twitch. He looks up at the painted ceiling, where faded images of the 9 divines watch over the faithful, and then back at the priest. "Make believes in stories," he says at last, his voice soft as velvet. Stories shape the world. They give hope and comfort, and sometimes even truth. The gods, perhaps they are the greatest stories of all. The priest considers this, his brow furrowed in thought. Stories can be powerful, yes, but some would say the gods are more than tales. They are the source of all that is good and just in the world. Perhaps Make agrees, or perhaps it is the stories we tell about them that give them shape. Make has seen many lands, many temples. In each, the stories are different, but the hope is the same. People need something to believe in, something to carry them through the dark nights and the long roads. He gestures to the candles, their flames dancing in the still air. Each light is a story, a memory, a prayer, a wish. Together, they make the night less lonely. The priest nods, a slow smile spreading across his face. You are wise, Make, or perhaps only clever, but I think the gods would not mind. After all, what is faith if not a story we choose to live by? Make bows his head in thanks, accepting the blessing in the priest's words. He lingers a while longer, breathing in the quiet, letting the peace of the chapel settle around him like a cloak. He listens to the silence, to the distant echo of hymns sung long ago, to the heartbeat of the world as it slows for the night. When he leaves, the sky is deep blue, the first stars just beginning to appear. Make walks down the hill, the chapel's bell tolling softly behind him, and feels lighter for the stories he has heard and the ones he has left behind. For Make, belief is not a matter of gods or temples, but of the tales that bind people together. The laughter, the tears, the whispered hopes that linger long after the candles have burned low. And as he disappears into the twilight, he carries those stories with him, a lantern against the coming dark. In the bustling streets of Bruma, where the sharp mountain air carries the scent of pine and wood smoke, Make the lyre moves with a peculiar grace. The city is alive with the sounds of merchants hawking their wares, guards clanking in their armor, and the laughter of children darting between the legs of hurried townsfolk. On this crisp afternoon, it is the children who follow Make, their faces bright with curiosity and mischief, their voices bubbling with questions about the world beyond their snowy gate. They trail behind him in a ragged procession, tugging at his cloak and calling out, Make, tell us a story. Tell us about the Thieves' Guild. Is it true they can steal the shadows right off your feet? Make, ever the performer, pauses beneath the arch of a stone bridge, letting the children gather in a semicircle at his feet. His eyes glint with playful cunning, and his tail sways like a metronome, keeping time with the city's heartbeat. He lowers his voice to a conspiratorial whisper, drawing the children closer. Make knows many things, he begins, and has heard tales that would make even the bravest guards tremble in their boots. But the greatest story of the Thieves' Guild is not about gold or jewels. No, it is about a fox with 1,000 tails, each one a secret stolen from the Empire itself. The children gasp, their imaginations ignited. Make continues, weaving his words with the skill of a bard and the slyness of a cat. This fox, cleverer than any mortal, could slip through locked doors and vanish into thin air. Some say he wore a cloak woven from the night sky, others that he could talk to the crows and learn the secrets of every rooftop in Bruma. With each new tale he grew, another secret was stolen, a count's hidden treasure, a merchant's dishonest ledger, a guard captain's forbidden love letter. He lets the story dance in the air, watching as the children's eyes grow wide. But the fox was not greedy. He did not keep the secrets for himself. No, he scattered them like leaves in the wind, so that the powerful would never sleep too soundly, and the poor would always have hope that justice might find them in the night. A bold child asks, Did you ever see the fox, Make? Did he teach you how to vanish? Make smiles, his whiskers twitching with delight. Make sees many things. Sometimes, in the reflection of a window or the shadow of a chimney, one might catch a glimpse of a tail slipping away. But to learn the fox's secrets, one must listen with more than just ears. One must listen with the heart. The children fall silent, pondering his words, and for a moment the city's noise fades into the background. Make rises, stretching with feline elegance. He tousles the hair of the nearest child and says, "Remember, little ones, the world is full of secrets. Some are meant to be kept, and some are meant to be shared. The cleverest thieves are those who steal only what must be stolen." As he slips away into the crowd, the children scatter, their minds aflame with dreams of foxes and shadows, of secret doors and whispered promises. Make's story lingers in the streets of Bruma, woven into the laughter of children and the wary glances of merchants. And somewhere, in the quiet corners of the city, the legend of the fox with 1,000 tales grows by one more tale, waiting for the next listener to believe. On a moonless night, Make settles beside a flickering campfire at the edge of a quiet glade, its gentle glow pushing back the darkness that presses in from all sides. The world is hushed, the only sounds the soft crackle of flames and the distant call of a nightjar. Opposite him sits a wandering bard, her lute resting across her knees, her eyes bright with the anticipation of stories yet untold. The firelight paints their faces in shifting gold and shadow, and for a time, the worries of the road fade, replaced by the timeless ritual of shared tales beneath the open sky. The bard, a Breton with a voice like velvet and laughter that dances on the air, begins with a song of lost loves and distant lands. Her fingers coax gentle melodies from the lute, each note a thread in the tapestry of the night. When her song ends, she looks to Make, her gaze inviting, and asks, "What stories do you carry, traveler? What truths have you gathered on your wandering path?" Make's whiskers twitch and his eyes glint with mischief. Make knows many things, he purrs, but the world is full of questions. Some answers are best left to the wind. Yes. He leans in, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "Tell Make, bard, do you believe that every story holds a kernel of truth? Or are some tales born only to amuse?" The bard laughs, her voice ringing through the trees. "A good story is a treasure, truth or not. But I have heard it said that you, Make, know every secret in Tamriel. Is it true you once dined with a Daedric prince? Or that you walked the halls of the vanished Dwemer?" Make grins, his tail curling around his feet. Make has dined with many, some more dangerous than Daedra, some less. As for the Dwemer, perhaps they tired of questions and walked away. Yes? But Make will tell you a secret. The best stories are the ones that change each time they are told. So the night unfolds, the two trading tales as the fire burns low. The bard shares a legend of the Nords, of a hero who tamed the northern winds and rode them across the sky. Make counters with a tale of the moons, Joan and Jode, whose tears became the stars to guide lost wanderers home. They speak of Argonian marshes where the trees remember every secret ever whispered beneath their boughs, and of foxes with 1,000 tales, each one a stolen secret from the Empire. As the hours slip by, laughter mingles with the crackle of flames. The bard, entranced by Make's riddles and wit, tries to catch him in contradiction, but always he slips away, his answers winding and elusive. "Does Make ever tell the whole truth?" she teases. Make's eyes gleam. Truth is a slippery thing, like a fish in a cold stream. Sometimes, to catch it, one must let it go. When the first pale light of dawn touches the treetops, the fire has burned to embers. The bard, wearied but inspired, plucks a final tune on her lute, a song of a Cagiate who knows every truth and none at all, whose laughter is as mysterious as the moon's and whose stories linger long after he has vanished down the road. Make listens, purring softly, content to be both the subject and the mystery. As the sun rises and the world awakens, the two travelers part ways. The bard carries with her a new tale to sing in the taverns and halls of Tamriel, a story that will grow and change with each retelling. And Make, as always, slips quietly into the morning mist, leaving behind only footprints in the echo of laughter, content that the night's stories will live on in the hearts of those who listen. Make journeys into the wilds of Valenwood, where the trees rise in tangled majesty, their roots weaving through the earth in ancient patterns, their leaves whispering in voices older than men. The air here is thick with the scent of moss and living wood, the sunlight filtering down in shifting green mosaics. Each step Make takes is muffled by the deep loam, and every breath seems to draw on the memory of centuries. He moves quietly, respectful of the forest hush, his presence blending with the dappled shadows and the slow, patient rhythm of the land. The Dwemer say that Valenwood is alive, not just with the creatures that dwell beneath its boughs, but with the very spirit of the Green Pact, the ancient covenant between the wood elves and the forest itself. May feels this presence as he walks, a gentle pressure at the edge of thought, as if unseen eyes watch and weigh every motion. He pauses often, listening not just with his ears, but with the deeper sense that comes to those who travel alone and pay attention. The trees whisper, their voices a chorus of creaks and sighs, a language of wind and leaf that speaks of rain and sun, of old wounds and quiet joys. He finds a clearing where the roots of an immense grotto curl above the ground, forming a natural seat. Make settles there, tail curled around his feet, and lets the silence settle over him. The forest listens in return, both content with the quiet between words. In that stillness, Make senses the stories that linger in the wood, not tales of war or conquest, but of slow growth, of patient endurance, of seasons turning in endless circles. He recalls a saying from his youth and elsewhere: to know a forest, one must first be silent in its shade. Here, in Valenwood, that lesson feels truer than ever. As the day drifts toward dusk, the light grows softer, the shadows longer. Make watches a pair of Dwemer children slip through the underbrush, their laughter barely more than a ripple in the green. They do not see him, and he does not call out. Instead, he listens to the way their footsteps stir the leaves, to the way the birds fall silent and then resume their song. The forest accepts them as it accepts him. Another story, another moment in the endless life of the wood. Night comes gently to Valenwood. The air cools, and the sounds of the day give way to the chorus of crickets and the distant hoot of an owl. Make remains in his clearing, watching as the stars emerge above the canopy, each one a pinprick of light in the vast, dark sky. He thinks of the histories of Black Marsh, those ancient beings whose sap carries the memories of generations, whose roots connect not just Argonians, but the very land itself. He wonders if the trees of Valenwood remember in the same way, if their whispers hold the secrets of the ages. He closes his eyes and breathes in the night, feeling the pulse of the forest all around him. In this place, words are unnecessary. The silence is its own kind of story, one that Make carries with him as he moves on, a wanderer in a world that is always listening, always remembering, always alive. In the shadow of a ruined tower, where the stones lean and the wild grass grows tall, Make finds himself drawn to a quiet mystery. The tower, once proud and vigilant, now stands as a silent witness to centuries of wind and rain. Its upper reaches crumbled into the earth, and its lower halls choked with moss and shadow. The air here is thick with the scent of old secrets, a place where the past lingers, waiting for a gentle hand to brush away the dust. As he explores the fallen stones, Make's keen eyes catch a glint beneath a tangle of ivy. He kneels, careful not to disturb the delicate balance of root and rock, and uncovers a weathered journal, its leather cover cracked and its pages brittle with age. The script inside is faded but legible, each line a careful record of hopes, fears, and dreams now long forgotten. Make settles himself on a sun-warmed stone, the journal cradled in his paws, and begins to read aloud, his voice soft as the breeze that stirs the grass. The words spill into the air, weaving a tapestry of memory. The journal's author, a young mage from a distant city, wrote of journeys through wild lands, of longing for home, of love found and lost beneath foreign stars. There are sketches of strange plants, notes on the behavior of wolves and the patterns of the stars, and, scattered throughout, fragments of poetry, lines that speak of yearning, of the search for meaning in a world both beautiful and cruel. As Make reads, the wind seems to pause, listening. The ruined tower, too, leans in, its stones eager to remember. The world grows quiet, and Make's voice becomes a bridge between what was and what is. He gives the old dreams new life, letting them rise and swirl like dust motes in the sun. The stories of the journal mingle with his own memories, of moonlit roads and distant laughter, of friends met and lost, of the endless journey that is the life of a wanderer. He pauses at a passage where the author writes of the Hist trees of Black Marsh, describing them as ancient beings whose sap carries the memories of countless generations. The mage wondered if memories, once spoken aloud, might take root in the world, growing into something new and enduring. Make smiles at this thought, and for a moment, he imagines the journal's words drifting on the wind, seeding the grass and the trees, becoming part of the land's own story. The tower, once a place of vigilance and command, now becomes a sanctuary for remembrance. Make's reading is not for an audience of men, but for the stones, the earth, and the restless spirits of the past. He reads until the sun slips low, painting the ruins in gold and shadow. When he closes the journal, the world feels changed, lighter, as if the burdens of the past have been shared and eased. Before he leaves, Make tucks the journal into a dry nook in the tower's base, a gift for the next traveler who might pass this way. He stands, stretching, and looks back at the ruins, feeling a kinship with their quiet endurance. As he walks away, the wind stirs again, carrying with it the echo of his voice and the dreams he has awakened. In the hush that follows, the land itself seems to sigh, content that, for a little while, forgotten dreams have lived again. A passing Allmere mage finds Make at the edge of a sun-dappled glade, where the air hums with the gentle energy of late afternoon and the world feels suspended between the waking and the dreaming. The mage, robed in fine blue silk and crowned with the quiet arrogance of Somerset, pauses to study the caitiate, who sits cross-legged on a mossy stone, tail flicking lazily, eyes half-closed as if listening to music only he can hear. Caitiate, the Altmere says, his voice smooth and curious, you have wandered far, I think. Tell me, what is your view on the nature of magic? Is it a force, a science, or something more mysterious still? Make opens his eyes, golden and bright, and smiles with a slow, knowing amusement. Magic, yes? Make has seen much magic, fire that dances, water that sings, words that twist the world. Some say magic is a force to be mastered, others a gift to be cherished. But Make thinks magic is like a good tale. It changes with each telling, and its truth depends on the listener's heart. The Allmere arches a brow, intrigued but skeptical. You speak in riddles, caitiate. Magic is the foundation of our world, the Edra-shaped mundus with it. The histories of Black Marsh carry memories and shape lives with their sap, and the very stars are said to be holes through which magic pours. Surely, there must be rules, a structure. Make's whiskers twitch, and he gestures to the world around them. Are there rules for the wind, or for the path of a falling leaf? Perhaps, but the wind forgets, and the leaf does not care. The Hist trees, for example, shape the Argonians not only in body but in spirit, carrying memories and wisdom through their glowing sap, guiding each generation in ways outsiders cannot see or measure. Is this not magic? Is it not also story, one that changes, grows, and remembers? He leans forward, voice dropping to a purr. Make has heard that when Argonians drink the sap, they become more than they were, shaped by the dreams and needs of their people, guided by the will of ancient trees. Is this science, or is it the magic of memory and hope? The Allmere have their rules, their schools, their precise incantations. But even the most careful mage knows that sometimes a spell's true power comes not from the words, but from the heart that speaks them. The Allmere considers this, his fingers absently tracing a rune in the air. So you say magic is a story, and the story changes with the teller? Make nods, his gaze distant. Yes. And elsewhere, the moon shaped the lives of caitiate, deciding who will be born as a warrior, a thief, or a priest. In Black Marsh, the Hist sing to their children in dreams. In Somerset, mages weave spells as intricate as spider silk. Each believes their magic is the truest, the purest. But Make has seen too many wonders to believe there is only one way. He stands, stretching languidly. Magic is a tale told by the world. Sometimes it is bright and loud, sometimes quiet and secret. It listens to those who listen to it. And like any good story, it is never quite the same twice. The Almere smiles, a little less certain, a little more thoughtful. Perhaps there is wisdom in your riddles, cage it. Or perhaps you simply enjoy the sound of your own voice. Make's laughter is soft, blending with the breeze. Both can be true. But remember, mage, when you next cast a spell, listen for the story beneath the words. You may find the magic changes, just as you do. As the Almere departs, pondering the Cageat's words, Make remains beneath the trees, content in the knowledge that the world's greatest mysteries are those that refuse to be pinned down. Magic, like a good tale, lives in the telling and in the hearts of those who dare to listen. As autumn leaves drift across the Gerald Mountains, Make walks a winding path of gold and rust, the air crisp and scented with the promise of winter. The sky above is a pale, endless blue, and the world feels suspended between seasons, caught in that quiet hush when the old year sighs and the new one waits, patient and unseen. Each step stirs a scatter of leaves, their colors vivid against the worn stone, and the mountains themselves seem to watch in silence, ancient and unmoved by the passage of time. Make moves at an unhurried pace, his thoughts as restless as the wind that tugs at his cloak. The journey has brought him far from the sun-warmed sands of elsewhere, through bustling cities and lonely forests, across rivers swollen with spring rain and fields golden with summer's bounty. Now, in the high passes, the world narrows to the crunch of leaves beneath his paws and the distant call of a hawk circling above the tree lane. He reflects on the many faces he has met, warriors and farmers, priests and thieves, children with eyes bright as new-minted coins and elders whose laughter is soft as falling snow. Each encounter has left its mark, a memory tucked away like a pebble in his pocket, smooth and comforting. He remembers the wary smiles of villagers uncertain whether his words were riddles or wisdom, the laughter of children chasing tales of foxes with 1,000 tails, the quiet gratitude of a priest who believed in stories as much as in gods. Make has spoken many truths, though not all were recognized as such. He has told lies as well, but in the telling, he has come to wonder if perhaps all lies are simply truths waiting for their time. A story, after all, is a living thing. It grows, it changes, it finds its moment to blow. The world is full of secrets, and sometimes, what is dismissed as nonsense today becomes wisdom tomorrow, when the heart is ready to hear. As he climbs higher, the wind sharpens, carrying with it the scent of distant snow and the faint, resinous tang of pine. The mountains are old, older than the empires that have risen and fallen in their shadow. They remember things that mortals have forgotten, wars and treaties, the coming and going of dragons, the slow, patient work of the Hist trees in the deep marshes far to the south. Make thinks of the Hist, those ancient sentinels whose sap carries the memory of ages, whose guidance shapes the lives of the Argonians in ways outsiders can scarcely imagine. The trees do not speak in words, but in dreams and visions, in the slow unfolding of seasons and the quiet persistence of roots. Their wisdom is deep and strange, and Make wonders if, in their own way, they too understand that truth and lie are but two faces of the same coin. He pauses at a bend in the path, where the view opens to a wide valley painted in the colors of autumn. Far below, a river glimmers in the sunlight, winding its way through fields and forests, a silver thread binding the land together. Make sits on a flat stone, drawing his cloak closer as the wind tugs at his whiskers. He lets his mind wander, sifting through the stories he has gathered, some bright and clear, others shadowed and uncertain. He remembers the Almere mage who asked about the nature of magic, and his own answer, that magic is like a good tale, changing with each telling, its truth shaped by the listener's heart. He remembers the farmer who laughed at the idea of singing grass, only to listen more closely that night and find wonder in the world. He remembers the children of Bruma, hungry for stories of the Thieves' Guild, and the bard who sang of a Cageat who knew every truth and none at all. Each memory is a leaf, drifting on the wind, settling for a moment before being lifted again. Make wonders how many of his words have taken root in the minds of those he has met, growing into something new and unexpected. He wonders how many lies have become truths, and how many truths have yet to find their time. The sun slips lower, painting the mountains in fire and shadow. Make rises, brushing leaves from his cloak, and continues along the path. The world is vast, and the road calls. He walks on, content with his questions, trusting that the answers will come when they are needed. For now, it is enough to move through the world, to listen and to speak, to watch the leaves fall and to know that every story, truth or lie, has its season. In a quiet glade, where the filtered sunlight dances across a carpet of moss and the air is thick with the scent of earth and living green, make pauses to rest beneath the arching boughs of an ancient oak. The world is hushed here, broken only by the distant song of a river and the gentle rustle of leaves stirred by a wandering breeze. It is a place between places, a pause in the endless journey, a moment of stillness in the ever-turning wheel of Tamriel. From the shadows at the edge of the glade, an Argonian emerges, his scales glinting with the subtle iridescence of marshlight. He moves with the quiet assurance of one who is at home in the wild, his steps barely disturbing the moss beneath his feet. He greets Make with a nod, his eyes calm and curious, and settles beside him on a fallen log. For a time, they sit in companionable silence, two wanderers sharing the peace of the forest. At length, the Argonian speaks, his voice low and thoughtful. "Cagiet, I have seen your kind on many roads, always moving, never lingering long. Why do your people wander so? Is there no place you call home?" Make considers the question, his tail curling around his paws. He looks at the Argonian, whose very being seems rooted to the earth, as if the land itself holds him fast. Some are born with roots, Make replies, and others with paws meant for roads. The Hist called to you, yes? Their voices guide your steps, bind you to the marsh and the memory of your people. For Cagiet, it is the moons that call, their dance across the sky, ever-changing, ever-moving. We follow their light, and in their shifting paths, we find our own. The Argonian nods, understanding flickering in his eyes. He speaks of the Hist, the ancient trees whose roots run deeper than memory, whose sap carries the wisdom of ages. He describes the bond that ties every Argonian to their ancestral trees, a connection that transcends distance, that persists even when one journeys far from Black Marsh. The Hist guidance is felt in dreams, in whispers at the edge of thought, in the gentle pull that draws the lost home at the end of their days. For the Argonian, home is not a place, but a presence, a living memory that endures beyond the boundaries of flesh and time. Make listens, his heart stirred by the depth of the Argonian's connection to his people and his land. Yet he knows that for Cagiet, the world is a tapestry of roads and horizons, each journey a thread in the pattern of their lives. The moons, Joan and Jode, shape the destiny of every Cagiet, their phases determining not only form but fortune. To wander is to honor the gift of change, to embrace the uncertainty that is the birthright of those born beneath shifting stars. He shares this with the Argonian, his words weaving a story of moonlit deserts and caravan fires, of songs sung to the night and dreams carried on the wind. Cagiet are born to journey, he says. Our hearts beat in time with the turning of the moons. To settle is to forget the music of the world, to lose the thread of our story. We wander not because we are lost, but because we are always seeking new sights, new tales, new beginnings. The Argonian smiles, a slow, thoughtful expression. Perhaps there is wisdom in wandering, as there is in remaining. The Hist teach us to remember, but also to adapt. The marsh is always changing, and so must we. Together, they sit in the quiet glade, the silence between them rich with understanding. Make gazes up at the sky, watching the clouds drift in lazy procession, and wonders if, in some distant way, the moons and the Hist are not so different, each guiding their children, each shaping the stories of those who walk beneath their gaze. As the day fades and the shadows lengthen, Make rises, ready to continue his journey. The Argonian remains, his presence as steady as the trees that surround him. They part with a nod, each carrying a piece of the other's wisdom, a reminder that some are born with roots, and others with paws meant for roads. But all are bound by the stories they share and the journeys they undertake. Details about the Hist and the Argonian connection, their sap, and the spiritual bond are drawn from the attached reference document. The seasons turn, and Maketh's journey continues, a quiet, persistent rhythm that echoes the cycles of Tamriel itself. Spring's green promise gives way to the gold and heat of summer, then to the crisp winds and falling leaves of autumn, and finally the hush of winter's snow. Through it all, Make moves from province to province, his path winding like a river through the tapestry of the land. His footprints are light, sometimes washed away by rain, sometimes preserved in the dust of forgotten roads, but always leading onward, always toward the next horizon. He is a familiar stranger in many places, a fleeting shadow in the bustling markets of Cyrodiil, a soft voice beneath the ancient trees of Valenwood, a flash of gold in the snowy streets of Skyrim. Where he goes, laughter often follows, a ripple of amusement at his riddles, a burst of joy at his stories, the gentle chuckle at his sly observations. Maketh's tales are never quite the same twice. They grow and change with each telling, shaped by the listener's hopes and doubts, by the mood of the day, by the shifting light of the moons. Yet it is not only laughter that he leaves behind. Maketh's words linger long after he has vanished down the road, settling in the minds of those who heard them. He is a catalyst for questions, a spark that ignites curiosity and wonder. Did the Dwemer truly tire of questions and simply walk away? Can the grass sing if only one listens closely enough? Are the stars really the tears of Joan and Jode, shed for wanderers without a home? These questions take root, growing quietly in the hearts of farmers, merchants, guards, and children. They are pondered by firelight, whispered in the dark, carried like seeds on the wind. In Black Marsh, where the morning mist clings to ancient roots and the air thrums with primordial power, Maketh's passing is a rare event. Yet even here, his stories leave their mark. The Argonians, shaped by the will and wisdom of the Hist, understand the value of memory in the power of questions. The Hist trees, whose sap glows with the accumulated knowledge of countless generations, have witnessed the rise and fall of empires, the slow transformation of marsh lizards into thinking, feeling beings. When Maketh's riddles reach their settlements, told by travelers or remembered in dreams, they are absorbed into the living memory of the trees, becoming part of the ever-growing tapestry of Argonian wisdom. The Hist, ancient and patient, know that the world is shaped not only by answers but by the questions that endure. Their roots stretch for miles, connecting groves across the marsh, carrying stories and secrets beneath the surface of the land. The Argonians, in turn, carry the Hist guidance with them, even when they wander far from home. It is a bond that transcends distance, a reminder that every journey, every question, every story is part of something larger, a cycle that repeats, a memory that persists. Make, too, is shaped by the places he visits and the people he meets. He carries fragments of their lives with him, a blessing from a priest in a quiet chapel, a psalm from a bard beneath a moonless sky, a lesson from an Argonian about roots and roads. He is a collector of moments, a weaver of connections, a wanderer who understands that the world is made richer by the stories that are shared and the mysteries that remain. As the seasons turn, Maketh's journey is never truly finished. He leaves behind footprints that fade, laughter that echoes, and questions that linger, reminders that every life, however brief, can touch the world in ways that endure beyond memory. And so, as the moons rise and fall, as the leaves bud and fall and bud again, Make walks on, content to be a part of the endless story, a thread in the ever-turning wheel of Tamriel. This passage draws on the lore of the Hist and their role in Argonian society, as detailed in your attached document, to illustrate how Maketh's influence persists even in the most ancient and mysterious corners of Tamriel. On the edge of the world, where the land meets the sea in a wild, untamed sweep of cliffs and windswept dunes, Make finds himself at the threshold of possibility. Here, the continent yields to the endless blue, and the only boundary is the horizon itself, always distant, always beckoning. The air is salted and brisk, carrying the cries of seabirds and the distant, ceaseless rhythm of waves breaking against ancient stone. Make settles himself on a smooth boulder, his silhouette framed by the vastness of the sky and the restless sea, and waits for the night to unfurl its mysteries. Above him, the twin moons, Joan and Jode, rise in silent majesty, casting pale silver paths across the water. Their light is soft but insistent, painting the world in a shifting tapestry of shadow and gleam. Mate closes his eyes, letting the gentle lap of the waves fill his senses. The sound is steady and ancient as the heartbeat of Nirn itself. In this liminal place, at the edge of all things, the world feels both impossibly large and intimately close. A place where stories begin and end and begin again. He breathes deeply, drawing in the scent of brine and wildflowers, and lets his mind wander. The journey that brought him here has been long and winding, marked by fleeting encounters, laughter, and riddles that linger like music in the memory. He recalls the faces of those he has met, the Argonian in the quiet glade, rooted by the wisdom of the Hist, the children of Bruma, hungry for tales of foxes and shadows, the priest in the Ayleid chapel, who believed in stories as much as in gods. Each meeting was a thread in the tapestry of his wandering, each question a pebble cast into the still waters of Tamriel. Make has always been a creature of the road, paws meant for wandering, heart tuned to the shifting music of the world. Yet here, at the world's edge, he allows himself a rare stillness. He listens, not only to the sea and the wind, but to the silence between, the space where stories are born. He thinks of the moons above, their phases guiding the lives of his people, their light a promise that even in darkness, there is guidance for those who seek it. The moons have watched over countless journeys, have seen empires rise and fall, have marked the passage of unnumbered seasons. Under their gaze, Make feels both small and infinite, a single note in an endless song. He dreams, as all wanderers do, of stories yet to be told. He imagines distant lands beyond the sea, where new faces wait to greet him, where new riddles await their moment to take root. He wonders what truths he will discover, and what lies will become truths in their own time. He thinks of the Hist in distant Black Marsh, their roots reaching deep beneath the land, their memories stretching back to the dawn of creation. He wonders if, in some way, the sea and the moons and the ancient trees are all connected, each a keeper of stories, each a witness to the endless turning of the world. The night deepens, and the stars emerge, scattered like grains of salt across the velvet sky. Make opens his eyes and watches as the moons climb higher, their light dancing on the waves. He feels the pull of the road, the promise of new beginnings, but for now, he is content to sit and listen, to let the world speak to him in the language of water and wind. He knows that, come morning, his paws will carry him onward, that his laughter and questions will find new ears, that his footprints will fade, but his stories will linger. On the edge of the world, beneath the watchful moons, Make is both a part of every story and apart from them all, a wanderer, a question, a promise of tales yet to be spun. And as the waves whisper their secrets to the shore, he smiles, knowing that the journey is never truly finished, and that the greatest stories are always waiting, just beyond the horizon.